So this lesson is about DNA 101. What are the basics of DNA? What do we need to understand about it? Well, first off, what does DNA stand for? Well, DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Um, Not too important that I need to understand it, just know that that's what it means. And the basic thing is it's composed of a sugar group, a phosphate group with different nitrogen bases. So who has DNA? Well, any living thing has DNA. Okay, all of these things from a Venus flytrap to the fly inside to the platypus. Okay, all of these things are going to have DNA that's going to dictate what they are as a species and how they interact with the world. So where is DNA found? So DNA, for the most part, can be found right here in the nucleus. Okay, it's protected in the nucleus. Okay, that's where all of the DNA is going to be stored for the most part. There are some exceptions here and there, but for the most part, it's protected in there because it's really important stuff. So we need to keep it protected inside the nucleus of the cell. So in every cell within an individual, the DNA is exactly identical. So cells throughout this elephant, they may perform different roles. There's keratin for the tusk. There's skin cells covering the ears. There's neurons for brain function. Lots of different cell types. But the one key is every one of them has the exact same DNA inside its nucleus. However, when we go outside the individual, okay, between different individuals, the DNA is going to be different. The meerkats had different DNA than the elephants, and the offsprings have different DNA from their parents. Okay, so no two things on Earth have the exact same DNA. There's going to be slight modifications throughout. So what does DNA consist of? Well, it consists of nucleotides, and this is a nucleotide. You can see here in the middle is we have a sugar group, okay, and we also have this phosphate group over here on the left-hand side. Those are the backbone for every nucleotide of DNA. Those are things that are going to remain constant throughout every piece of DNA inside your body. Where the changes are going to occur is out here in the nitrogenous bases. Okay, see here, this is cytosine, an example of one of them. Okay, there are four that we're going to see in DNA, but this is where the variability is going to take place in the DNA. The phosphate groups, the sugar, those are going to remain the same. The nitrogenous bases is what's going to give the different coding aspects for your DNA. So here are the four different nitrogen bases. Okay, you can see we have cytosine here on the left, thymine here on the right. We have cytosine here. We have thymine here, adenine here, guanine here. Okay, they're pyrimidines and purines. And you can see the difference between the two. One has a single ring structure. The pyrimidines have a single ring structure. The purines have a double ring structure. Not important for you to understand. The basic thing to understand is that we have these four different possible nitrogen bases that are going to make up the differences in our DNA. So the property in DNA, though, is these nitrogen bases, they're going to come in pairs. So you can see our sugar phosphate group's the same throughout. It's the same everywhere in every single piece of DNA. But we have the adenine and the thymine are pairing together. You see the A and the T are going to bind with each other. The guanine and the cytosine are going to bind with each other. And again, the adenine and thymine pair with each other here too, and the guanine and the cytosine pair here as well. So the A and the T are always going to pair together. The G and the C, the guanine and cytosine, they're always going to pair together, and that's going to be the key for developing the genetic code. How these two, the order of these base pairs going with each other. So it's really important to understand A is always going to pair with T and vice versa, and G is always going to pair with C. So very important to understand that that's going to be the code from every piece of DNA. So what happens now that we have all these base pairs lined up? Well, eventually they start to wrap around each other, and that's where we get the standard double helix that you're used to seeing with DNA. So this blue right here represents that sugar phosphate backbone. Okay, the red in the middle represents the nitrogenous bases, and here you can see the red and the yellow are always paired with each other. The blue and the green, the guanine and the cytosine, are always paired with each other throughout. Okay, so that color code kind of shows you that that double helix is very consistent in terms of the pairing of the bases, and that's what's going to drive the genetic code.